Hey, what's up, guys? I decided to make another video, this time on Sword Art Online, Alicization. This shit fucking slaps. I'm, like, still a little bit emotional because I just finished it. I was like, okay, I rushed to get, to get this shit out so I could, talk about it because holy shit was this season something, man. Like, I actually did write down a whole bunch of notes for this one, but first off, the box set is fucking beautiful. Um, the cases are nice, and these are reversible like I wanted the other one to be. The last one, like, spine was ugly as fuck, so they fixed that, and this one's better. But anyway, getting into the show, this was not what I expected at all, and in a really good way. And I kind of expected that in some way because there's sometimes where I, read a synopsis and I'm like, oh, this is how it's gonna be, but then it's something completely different. And it was fucking insane, but I loved it. Um, Basically, first of all, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Like, it's actually fucking amazing. But if you haven't seen it, oh, okay, whatever. Just talking about it. Kirito ends up like using this new VR system, like training for these people. Not training, like as a job for the guy he did the job for in season two, and it's like this new full dive type stuff where the world feels even more realistic. And when he gets put in there, his memories of the real world are forgotten. So he grows up with these people named Alice and Kyoji, I think. Um, and no, Kyujo. I don't know, whatever. But he ends up like growing up with both of them. But in the real world, he doesn't remember any of this because they erase his memories as well. So he doesn't know anything that's really going on. Um, so the first episode ends with him getting injected with the well, does it end with that? I don't know. And it's with him getting injected by that poison. I think it's the same poison as season two by the other the other laughing coffin guy. And I was worried that they weren't gonna bring that back up because it just seemed like it was out of nowhere, but it was like insane. Um, I was not expecting the way it went down. So basically, he had to be put in that machine to survive because his brain was damaged because his heart stopped for like 5 minutes or something, and so basically then the government, like, the people he was doing the job for, steal his body. So Austin was like, yo, what the fuck happened, where is he? And she's all worried and stuff, and obviously everyone is because this is literally like he's dying, like it was some serious shit. And so basically the rest of the season takes place inside that world, and he just wakes up in the world and he's like, what the fuck's going on, like, why am I here? I remember walking with Austin and that's it. And he remembers, I think he remembers, I'm like pretty sure he remembers being there as a kid in that moment. But other than that, it's this whole new world. And I said last season, it's hard to care when the stakes aren't real. And they really tried hard to make the stakes real by making this world real. And I do think it worked. I definitely think it worked. Making these like AIs like real people with real lives and stuff, and it was great. It was absolutely amazing. Um, and just the story of him and Kyoji, I don't know, but the guy traveling, going to save Alice. I thought it was a little like I would have preferred it if the entire time he remembered Kyoji remembered that Kirito was there with him and Alice when he was a kid. I felt like it happened like at the end. Because they tease it in the beginning where he's like, "Oh, you, me, and Alice were there," and then he's like, "Oh, I was just having a dream or whatever." So I thought that it would have been better if they like did that, but I think that other than that, I didn't really have much of a problem. I liked the whole thing. He's been in there for 2 years at some point, and it's just like because they explain that like it goes really fast, um, in the real world. So, oh, meanwhile, I'm just gonna finish what happens in the real world because I just want to get that through because that shit was insane. So basically, Asuna ends up contacting the girlfriend of the guy who created Sword Art Online. I'm forgetting his name, and says, Kirito's gone missing. I don't know where he is. Could you? You're my last hope. Could you help me? Because they try to find him, and he's been taken out of the country. And I was like, that is just fucking insane to me, dude. I was like, what the fuck? And basically, he's taken by the guy, who gave him the job. So I thought that he was a villain, but he basically, I'm pretty sure like he's not. At this point, it was like, he does care about Kirito. He has his own agenda, but he does care about him. And so Asuna ends up, contacting her, and the lady was offered a job at this place called was it the turtle shell, something like that, something to do with turtles. And she brings Asuna along disguised. So he comes in, she comes in and she's like, she rips off the disguise and she's like, where's Kirito? And he's like, wow, you fucking found me already. And that was something where I was like, it was really fast, and I thought that like the mystery would have been really interesting, but I kind of get why they did it, because they wanted to focus on the Alicization world mostly. So it wasn't like you're not constantly wondering, okay, but where is he in the real world? What is he doing that? So it's kind of like, then the guy's like, oh yeah, I stole him, but it was to save his life, and because his brain was severely damaged, so we put him in that machine, whatever. And I would have thought it would be interesting if Asuna was watching like what Kirito was doing, because I would have loved to see like some reactions to that. Like when she reacted to the Death Gun fight, like something like that would have been awesome. And yeah, so basically that's kind of it for Asuna this this season. It's a bit of a shame. Oh, they also fight in GGO, and actually, I'm fucking stupid. I just realized something. They fight in GGO and they fight this group of like mercenaries or whatever. I think they're the ones at the end. I don't want to talk about that yet. At the end of the season, but yeah. So basically, like it's all of them together. You get to see them a little bit. You get to see Klein fighting in GGO. Like all these people fighting in GGO and what they're doing, and it's cool. I really like it. It's not much, but it's enjoyable. It's quite enjoyable, and after that. After like the second episode, there's like barely anything with any of the characters anymore. You learn more about SAO's creator's girlfriend. How I don't know, basically like how she loved him, all this stuff. And for Asuna, she's basically just there. Like she ends up like staying there at the Turtle, which is some base in the fucking ocean, and sorry, and that's cool. But other than that, there really isn't that much going on in the real world. And like I said, I think that's mainly to focus on um, Alicization. And I think that it worked. Like I said, the stakes um, were real. Like the stakes felt real because this world felt real. And it was like, these people are not just AI. Like they're made from real people. Their souls have been taken from them. And this world, well, copied or something like that. And this world is like, being built to, for some, like, what was it? It was like to fight battles virtually or something so that less real people die. And Kirito wouldn't have been okay with that, which, yes, he absolutely wouldn't have. But anyway, so that shit was something that basically just came, that's, it felt real, is what I'm trying to say. And with that, like I said, it's mostly just Kirito adventuring with, I can't believe it. Yu-Gi-Oh, that's how they say it, Yu-Gi-Oh, I remembered. I think that the way that they said that, I mean, the way that they did that was so well done, where you do care about these characters, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? What's going on with the world? What is this? What is he doing? And I think that the whole working at the Sword Academy was pretty cool. I thought that they were gonna do like a weird kind of romance thing with Kirito and his instructor or whatever. Um, because they just gave me a bit of that vibe. I understand. Like, I was thinking, like, maybe something would have been interesting is if he was forgetting his memories from the real world because he's been in there too long. I think that that would have been a cool kind of thing, but once again, it changes what happens at the end. So, yeah. So, anyway, so the Kirito, this world exists, and, with him and Kyoko, he's teaching him sword fighting, and he's, like, this great sword fighter now, and they're, like, pals. They're, like, brothers. And, and Kirito's like mentoring him, kind of teaching him, and I think he's kind of like how Kirito was in season one, not exactly, but somewhat. So like he's like, calm down, don't get mad. This is what they want. I thought that the nobles were fucking disgusting, and I'm glad Kirito killed him. I wish he fucking killed he killed the other guy too. Like that rape scene went on way too long. I mentioned this before, but that shit, like it's too, like it's not too much for me, but it's like whatever with gore, but just like stuff like that is very uncomfortable for me, and it went on for a bit too long, and I was like, oh my god, they're fucking finding a way to do this shit again. And it felt like at some point it's like, is this really necessary? Because it goes on for like maybe, I don't know, 3-4 minutes maybe. And then, Kyoka manages to break out and save him. So that was cool, but it was getting, like, way too close. I mean, there was that, like, in the beginning, now this is fucked up, but, like, in the beginning when he's like, oh, they're all tied up, I can do whatever I want because the law doesn't affect me with this, and he fucking jumps, like, like this, on the bed with them, that looked funny as fuck, like, just the animation, but it's fucked up. But yeah, so him killing that guy, Kirito kills that guy, and then they violated the law, which is the, what is it, the taboo, I don't know, the taboo code, the taboo rules, some shit, taboo something. And, their original idea was to go to the Sword Academy to then become these, knights. I forget the first thing, I don't know, something Knights, but, like, the name sounds, like, sus. Like, to me, it was, like, I don't know, Puritan Knights or something. Like, something where it just sounded off, like there was something going on behind the scenes. And so they end up, like, getting arrested because of that, because they immediately, like, what's it called? A senator sees them and reports it. So, the teacher's like, I'm sorry, I have to turn you in, but I do understand, you had the strength to do what I couldn't. And it was gross because these dudes were, like, fucking disgusting. At first I thought they were just, like, some jokers, like, oh, they hate Kirito, and then when they see him fight the number one swordsman in the school, I'm like, okay, well, they'll probably, like, back off. And then they bring it to a whole nother level, which is, like, some fucking, disgusting shit, like I said. And like I said, I'm really glad that he killed him. I wish he killed both of them. That's absolutely deserved. And, I feel no sympathy for that motherfucker. I hope he can't grow his arm back. But, yeah, so with that, it was pretty good. So then they're going to get arrested, and it turns out it's Alice, and she's one of the, oh my fucking god, why can't I remember what the name is? But, the guards. And her memory's been erased. So it's like, there's a lot about memory this season. And, it's kind of like, she doesn't remember Kyoji, yeah, whatever. And, Kirito, which I wasn't sure if she would remember Kirito anyway, because Kyoji forgot Kirito, so I wasn't sure, like, if she would remember him, or if not. And they never really kind of, like, I guess she remembers him, but not her, like, I don't know, but just keep going, so they end up breaking out, and there's these, like, the fight scenes in this season, I want to talk about that real quick, well, I'll keep going, but the fight scenes are, like, incredible this season, I think there's a lot more action, I mean, not a lot more action, but there's a lot more sword action, which I think feels more fluid and kind of, like, cool. Like, when you see Kirito fighting, like, people with, guns with the, the laser sword, that's cool. Like, I just think that, like, visually it looks better, when you see, the sword fighting and stuff. And these fight scenes were just absolutely beautiful. And I just thought it was really well done. And yeah, so along with that, he ends up defeating, I guess Alice's like apprentice or whatever, and because she thought that they were gonna escape, they did. Um, and then they end up finding out that the reason that they're forgotten their memories and they're corrupted and they're so like stuck to this church or whatever is because their minds were altered, and like I said, their memories were erased and they believed that they were sent here from God basically. And that's why she forgot. She won't listen to any of it. Like, you're a liar, da 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 da. And like I said, it was interesting. I think that, like, at first I was like, literally kill all these fucking guards. But then they basically humanized each and every one. No, not basically. They did. The two little girls, which I knew there was some shit coming up. I'm like, this is sus. But there's not a fight scene with them. Kirito just fucking, like, poisons them with their own blades and then, lets them go later. And, that's basically, and their story was fucked up. How they were like had to kill each other over and over and all this stuff. It was really messed up. Um, I just wasn't sure if their memories were altered. By the way, I forgot to. I don't think they were. They didn't specifically say they weren't, but it was like they remember all these experiments and stuff. So yeah, so Kirito fighting the I forget the name, but the lady swordswoman, was awesome. I really liked what they did there. Where it's like he gets the helmet off. Oh, it's a woman. And she's like upset that basically she's upset that she's a woman. 'Cause she gets treated like shit, and you know, we don't see much of that, but yeah, that makes sense. And it's like we've seen some badass women in this show, so I'm absolutely like, yeah, she deserves better than that. And Kirito kind of saying like, I fought and lost the women, I like whatever. I forget exactly what he says, but it's a cool line. And it was like, basically saying I don't give a shit about that. And him ending up defeating her and then saving her life, uh, by sending her to Cardinal, was interesting. I thought that Cardinal was pretty interesting this season too. How they ended up bringing that back, and it was a person this time, and it had feelings and all that stuff. So, let's see. Oh, I like them losing blood in this show, in this season, where it's not just like the red line. It's the they're bleeding. Like it's more physical pain. And something I wanted to mention in the last video, but I forgot because I didn't have my notes, was I was wondering how much they felt and what they can feel and what they can't feel in the VR world. Because sometimes they act like, they're in pain, and then it's like with Kirito touching Asuna's hand, he's like, oh, I'd be able to tell. But it was just something where I was like, I was very confused because they didn't draw the line. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, the guy there one with the guy, like one of the rape guys, that was pretty funny. Was not the rape, but the guy when he's like after they destroy Kirito's that sounds sus, his flowers, and he like says, oh, you're nothing, and the guy goes, Kirito nothing. Like the way he said it actually made me laugh out loud, and I can't like explain, but it was funny as fuck. Yeah, the dragon armor dude seems cool. I knew those kids were up to no good. Absolutely true. Oh yeah, here we go. Kirito said he fought and beat, fought and beat. That sounds bad too, but fought and beaten women and never held back. Yeah, I wish the whole cast was looking for Kirito and it didn't go as fast. But like I said, they're like it's 90% Kirito, this entire season. Well, maybe not 90, like maybe like because you Joe, whatever, it's his story as well. And I really thought that Yujo was going to be a part of Kirito's soul. Like they managed to get a part of his soul, like whatever they call it. I forget what they call it. Like you have the part inside the brain that contains the soul, whatever. I thought that was gonna be like they were gonna be related like that. I was wrong. They never mentioned anything like that, but I just thought they kind of looked similar, and some of the stuff that happened kind of seemed similar. Especially to to him. Um, I think especially with him and his apprentice, Kyoka. Kyo- my fucking god, Kyoji, Yuji. Oh my god, dude, what the fuck is his name? The guy, the blonde guy. How he ends up saving that girl, and she falls in love with him, and she's like, I'm a noble, and I want to I don't want to marry a guy like these guys who almost raped me. I want to marry someone like you. So if you win this tournament, you'll become a noble. And I felt like that kind of reminded me of Asuna and Kirito, just like kind of like her real world situation, and then also like I don't know, it just felt similar. She kind of looked like her. I wasn't sure what they were going to do, who they were going to set. Yuji. I'm just gonna call it Yuji. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Fuck me, I guess. But Yu-Gi-Oh. I'll say Yu-Gi-Oh. That's the one with an O. But yeah. So Yu-Gi-Oh. I thought he was gonna end up with Alice's sister. So I thought that was gonna happen because they teased that a little bit. Then nothing happened. Then I was like, okay, maybe him and Alice, like, 'cause I kind of, I could kind of see something like that. Um, but they don't. And then it seemed like okay, he's definitely ending up with the other girl, the redhead girl who he saved, which I think like actually was kind of the best choice. Um, yeah, so that but I guess spoiler. I've been talking spoilers this whole time. Yu-Gi-Oh fucking dies, which is like holy shit, man. Kirito cannot catch a break, dude. He deserves so much better. Like he's a nice guy, and he always helps these people out, and he always gets fucked. He always gets the short end of the stick. He rarely ever. Well, not rarely ever, but like he doesn't have these wins that he deserves. Like it's like yes, he ends up winning the final battle or whatever, which went on way too fucking long. I thought that the villain, the administrator, was so fucking kind of boring. Like it was like explain, who she is, what went on, whatever, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then she's just there the entire fucking time, and it's so annoying. And they almost make her travel to the real world, and I was so pissed off. But then that fucking clown guy killed her, which he's fucking gross, dude. I fucking hated that guy, disgusting ass bitch. So luckily she didn't end up doing that, but I thought that she was kind of, you know, well not weak as a villain, but it just went on too long. That's what I mean. Where I'm just like, okay, fucking end it already. Because there's like three separate times where it's like, okay, they got the upper hand. No, they don't. They're people are dying. Well, not dying, but they're getting injured. Uh, Yoji Yoji Yojio transforms into a sword, which I was like, oh, Kirito's gonna use the sword. No, he just turns into a fucking flying sword, I guess, and stabs the lady, cuts her arm off, and then basically dies, like transforms back into a human, and he's fucking cut in half. And I thought he was gonna survive because I thought that like the ice connects the top half to the lower half, so I thought he was gonna survive. And Alice ends up getting hurt pretty bad, but she doesn't die. And I liked what they did with Alice, like before she gets mind controlled and after, how she's like this warrior now. And uh, Yojio says how they would have like fought between how to save, to save the old Alice or somehow to save the new Alice's soul because they're like different people basically. And I thought that like yes, that is exactly what would happen. And I liked how you know Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, and Alice went off into the sunset together. It was like we'll always be a part of you. Um, it was sad. Like it was definitely sad. Like that was like what I was saying, where it's like he just can't catch a break. Like because to him, he grew up with these people. Like he has the memories. Like he grew up with them, and then he was spending 2 years with the guy, hanging out. Whatever. And the entire time they're trying to save Alice, and then well, they do and they don't, and it was kind of sad. It reminded me of Naruto, with Obito and the girl. How at the end they walk off together, like when they both die or whatever. Spoiler alert, whatever. Um, So yeah, that was something that reminded me of that, and it was sad, but it was like, okay, they get a happy ending, kind of. They're in like the uh, I don't know, heaven or something. I don't know, and yeah. So that was something where I was like a little sad. I was like, I can't believe that they did this. Like, not I can't believe, but like that you care, right? Because like I said, last season they had the stakes of like, okay, Death Gun's killing people in the real world, and then helping, Kirito and Sinon through the trauma felt real. But this season felt like the world was real, the people were real, and there were real stakes. There was really things that you want to save, you want to protect, and it was just, it was just great. And I'll probably think of something else, but I want to talk about the ending now. I would have been so pissed off if I was watching this like as it was airing and they ended the way it did, because I was not expecting like anything like what happened to happen. So Kirito ends up defeating the lady finally. Once again she almost gets away, which I would have been pissed. I would have been so mad. I'm not even kidding. Like, I was actually pissed off when it seemed like she was gonna get away, and then that fucking creepy clown guy, like, whatever. I mean, I guess he was good for something. He killed her, so that was nice. But he was a fucking disgusting little fuck. I hated him. I hated him so much, and yeah. So that was something interesting. And then it's like Kirito. I don't know what exactly happened. Like what they were gonna do after that. I guess like Alice is kind of still like kind of knocked out on the ground, but she's alive, and he's talking to Geo, and he's like, I'll take care of her, and I'm like upset because his friends are dying, and then the lady, the administrator, opened up a panel to the real world, which the entire season, in the beginning he's like, oh, how am I gonna get out of here, and then like after that they really kind of don't focus on that much. Like it's something in the background where Kirito's like, yeah, this journey will end sometime, but not anytime soon. But it's like for 2 years you're in this world. Like, does he know that time is like faster there, like, and slower in the real world? Because if he didn't, and he just like left Asuna for like 2 years, that would have been fucked up. And also, Asuna has this ring. I want to mention this. Asuna has this ring on her finger, and looks like I was flipping you off, but and Kirito gave it to her. I'm not even gonna say. I'm assuming he did, but I don't remember where or when or whatever. Like he gives her a ring in the game, but you see it, but she has a ring in real life. So I don't know if that's like maybe a part of one of those movies or an OVA or something, but that was something that I noticed. Um, Oh, so anyway, getting back to it, he ends up contacting the guy in the real world, the guy who was working for. He's like, "You fuck, what? Like, what did you do? What did you do to me?" And like all this shit. He's really pissed off, and he's like, "Yo, we can't talk about this right now." And there's like gunshots in the background, and I had no idea where they were going with Austin, because you see her a few times, like I said, but it's very like early in the season, and then you kind of don't see her that much, or like hear from her or anything. Um, but she's walking past this guy, and the guy does the creepy kind of like, I don't know, like smile, like you know what I'm talking about, like the evil anime smile, like the really creepy one. And the lady's like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And she's like, "Oh, it's nothing." And I was like, "Okay, that's." I thought it was gonna be someone who's in the game. That's what I thought. But and it appears there was someone else in the game. I don't know who. Like the lady at the end said, "Oh, there's another guy," and I think he's probably the one leading the Dark Army or whatever. So we'll probably see that next season. But anyway, so going into the real world, right? Um, I have like that shit was insane. So it starts off like they see a battleship in the distance. They're like, "Oh, it was supposed to stick with us until da 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 da," and then like you're like, "Okay, that's weird," but whatever. And then we jump back into the world, like the world, and then like at the end it's revealed that like they're staging a fucking like raid on Kirito. Well, I don't know if they're specifically trying to get Kirito. They're trying to get this like technology, and they're shooting up the place. And Austin was there, and the guy's there, and I actually do like him. I'm not. I don't think he's like a villain. I think they've kind of made that clear at this point, but he is shady, and like he's like, we can't talk about this right now. Bring Alice to this point or whatever. Like, I don't know why he needed Alice in the first place. I don't know what that's about. Probably find out. But and then it's like they're about to break into Kirito's room. Guns blade like you have not seen this shit in Sao. I mean, you did in Gun Gale, but not in like the real world. Like, this is some real fucking Marines you know type shit. And Austin's there, and you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen to her? And they mentioned that Austin was there, and he's like, Austin was there, and you hear her voice for a second, and then it ends with like her reaching from the world to Kirito, and them doing the hand thing that fucking every anime does, it seems like. And yeah, so that's and then it ends there. And I would have been super pissed off because I don't know what they're gonna do. Because now they're involving like some even more real world shit. Because in this season, I felt like kind of just like getting his brain damage was just like felt like a way to put him in the machine, and that's it. Like, it had no stakes. Like, it was like, okay, he's gonna survive. It's just a matter of time, right? And that kind of, I mean, you probably know he's not gonna die. Like, he might, I guess, like at the very end, but it seems like probably not. But it would have been interesting to just have that like threat, and something where it's like in the back of your head, you're like, oh shit, this could happen, da 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 da. Like, he's getting injured in the game, and he starts like getting fucked up in real life, something like that. Because, like you said, they can feel it a lot more, and it's like actual bleeding and all this stuff. So I just felt like there was a bit of a wasted opportunity there. Um, and that would have been interesting. But like I said, there's like basically no real world stuff, and then the real world stuff we do get, we barely get any Asuna. Um, we get even less of the other guys. Like, the most we get is Sinon. That's pretty much the main one we get. Egil, I think he talks one time, like when they leave the bar, but you don't even see him talk. You just hear his voice. Um, and Klein, which Klein was cool when he was like driving to the warehouse to try to find Kirito. Um, that was cool. But other than that, you really don't see them, except like in the first episode, and like I think like the turtle one. After she figures out what happened, she tells them what she figured out, and then you really don't see them like ever, not ever again. I think they'll appear in next season, but it was like this was a departure, right? Because even in Gun Gale, they were still like showing up every once in a while, but it was like it was just Asuna, and it was barely Asuna. Like, I don't know. I thought that I missed her. Like, I love Kirito and Asuna's relationship. It's one of my favorite parts about the show, and I feel like these last two seasons they've let it these yeah, I guess these last two seasons, whatever, they've kind of put it on the back burner, which, yes, you did push it, like, really hard in the beginning, but I just think that there was, some more you could do, at least, like, some nice moments, and they had it in the first episode. They had some good moments where he's like, oh, come to America with me, I can't do this without you, like, that was some good shit, and then he gets, injected, whatever, and I just felt like, I missed him. And I missed all the other characters. I missed Sinon. She, like I said, she's like the second most person to appear, character, like previous character, besides Asuka. Asuka? No, Asuna. And yes, that's pretty much it with that. Like I said, I just missed them. I would have liked to see more. I would have liked to see Asuna reacting to the shit that's happening in the world. I thought that would have been cool, but we don't get that. I have no idea what the fuck they're doing with this like raid at the place, and like if they're gonna take Kirito's body or like what. Like I said, I don't think he's gonna die, but I think like I don't know, like that's like maybe they could take his body or something. I don't know. Like I don't know if he can get out of the machine yet, if his brain is fully healed or not. They said it was healing, but like in the show, it's only been like a few days. In the real world, in the game, it's been like 2 years, and like I said, that's pretty much that's where it leaves off. So I do have the next set. So I'm gonna watch that. It's only 12 episodes, which kind of sucks. But I don't know. I just would have liked more. Not this season, but like next season. I feel like they have a lot to do, and I would have liked to see 24 more episodes. And or like at least 23. There was that recap episode in like where he's talking to Alice and he finally convinces her like, the church isn't good and they're manipulating you, and I'm telling you the truth and I'm not lying. All this shit where she ends up like, realizing that's what's going on. And I thought that like, okay, him telling everything, I would have liked to see a scene of that, like him talking about it. But the entire episode is just a recap with a few voiceovers. And I was like, okay, that fucking sucks. And the next episode, he does it again. Like, he tells her the story, but like I said, just with him talking about it. And, then he ends up convincing her. Which I thought that they were going to have to use the knife that, like, sends her to the cardinal. But they didn't. Which makes actually somewhat more sense because he would have had to defeat the administrator before he could get the memories or whatever. Yeah. So, also, oh my God, Kyoji, whatever. Basically, oh shit, my phone's updating, so now I can't read my notes. That sucks ass. I don't know why it's doing that. But I wrote down that it felt really weird. Like all of a sudden he jumps out of like, and he ends up going with her, and he does end up fighting his way out of it because it was kind of weak and all this. But it was like really weird, and I just felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. It's like, oh, you want love and you want only someone to love. Like we see his, well, we don't see his mom, whatever, but. Like, oh, she didn't love you as much as she loved your brothers. And it's like, this bitch just randomly telling you shit. You're like, yeah, like, and it's like, I'll love you. I'll give you all my love if you devote yourself to me like no one else. It's basically like, I don't know. They were explaining it, and it was like, yeah, that isn't love. And they do end up saying that, like, later on. Like, that shit was like, no. Like, I was thinking that, and I was like, so if you love someone, you can't love anybody else? Like, I'm not talking about romantically, but it's like, you got friends, you got family, and it's like, you're not allowed to love them because you want them all to yourself. Like, that's, like, huge red flag, I guess. Like, I don't know who the fuck does that, Or it's, like, not even, like, just nobody. And, him ended up not being a traitor, but, like, I guess kind of being a traitor. But then him fighting his way out of it. Which I don't know, dude. Like, I just felt like it was like kind of a shock value thing, and then he immediately broke out of it. I was hoping that Kirito would beat him because he did say like, "Oh, I think you'll beat me one day, but today is not that day." And once again, a fucking fire line. But and then they like don't really fight all out. They bring the fucking clown guy back, which once again he fucking disgusts me. I don't know what he did. Like, yes, he's like a bad, like, bad guy and a bad character, but I don't know why the fuck, like, in general, he just like something ain't right when I when I see him. I don't know, but yeah. So, and then he ends up like backing off. Like, that's not love. She opens up his memories, and he finally remembers that him and Kirito were there as a kid. That they were all together. It was all of them. It wasn't just Alice and Yojio. And I wish it was a better name. Like, cause like Kirito, Kirito. Like, that's better. I don't know. It just feels better. But so I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then he kind of backs off that. And by the way, I want to mention this because I'm just like the fucking administrator is always butt ass naked, and yeah, she's a baddie, I guess, but like it's so fucking weird and just unnecessary. You know, like the scene where she's kind of seducing him, like, "Oh, I'll love you forever. I'll give you all my love. I'll give you everything. You know, pleasure you've never experienced before." I'm like, am I watching hentai? But no, I didn't go that far. But it was like, okay, but she's just butt ass naked for their entire fight with her hair covering the shit up, and it was like so unnecessary. Like, once again, I'm like, I'm not like against that type of stuff, but it's like, bro, put something on. Like, I don't know. Like, there's these serious ass battles, and you always got her hair fucking covering her titties and the other bits, and it was just like, at some point, I'm like, why? Um, but like I said, that fight with them went on way too long. Uh, with her, it just like kept going, and then Yojio dies, and I guess like the original Alice kind of dies, and goes off into the void. And once again, Kirito's body. Who knows what happened with that? It seemed like Austin was trying to reach him, but it looked like maybe she didn't, or like something like that. Or like I said, I don't know if he can leave the machine yet, like if he's fully healed. Um, but basically, like he's kind of lost almost everything in that world. Um, you know, with those people being the most important. Well, not like the new Alice is his friend, and you do feel like they do have a good chemistry going on when you that episode where they're like, they fall outside the building and they're climbing up and they have all that shit. It was pretty good, and I thought that like it was if it was good. I liked their friendship. I like seeing where that went, but otherwise, he has some people, and I think like now with the generals or whatever the fuck they're called from the church, healed, saved, whatever. Like I said, I don't know about I don't know if they're twins or like whatever, the sisters. Um, like if they were mind controlled like that, or if they were just fucked up from the trauma they experienced. But it seems like because especially him and the female knight, it feels like they kind of got a mutual respect for each other even when she was messed up, and him and the red knight guy seemed like they kind of had a thing. And the main guy, the top guy was he seemed like he was the one who most kind of accepted from the start, where it was like, yeah, something's not right here. I don't believe. Sorry, my arm's pretty itchy, but I don't believe. Where he's kind of believing Kyojo, Jesus, you know, um, about you had memories, you had a mother, you had a father, you had a family, and they took that from you. Um, which yeah is super fucked up. Like you do think about that, and it's like yeah, that's fucked. Like who knows what he had to leave behind. And there's that elevator lady too, where like that's just like a small thing, but it makes it hit hard. Where it's like she's been an elevator lady, the operator for so long she doesn't even remember her name, and she is a real person. Like I said, with all these people, they're real. Like they say that they're real, and Kirito believes that they're real, and they are real. They feel real. Like, if they die, everything's over. Like there is no coming back. Like Kirito, I don't know what would have happened if he died. If he would have been kicked out of the machine and then died in real life. If he would have been fine. Like it seemed like nobody was monitoring him. That's something like I said with Asuna, like reacting to it, or something like the whole gang reacting to it. The new guy, his the guy who hired him, all that shit, and it's like he's almost dying. Like he's going through some crazy shit. And I mean, at the end, makes sense because they're having a fucking like army fight, like shooting at each other and shit. But like the other times he almost died and like stuff like that, like you weren't monitoring him or watching him or what? Like the nurse was supposed to be doing that, but which is the same nurse from season 2. But it's basically just like, man, what's going on? Like I felt like because I feel like like I said, they wanted to feel like make you feel like this is the real world for the most part. Um, it feels like Kirito barely ever thinks of like the other world. Sometimes he'll say some things that don't match up in this world, like stay cool and shit like that. Which when he taught Yojo that, I thought that he was gonna just say like stay cool when he left, but he said the Kyojo stay cool said stay cool when he was dying when he died, so that was sad, and just stuff like that. But otherwise, it's like I said, he you know when he learns his true sword power, he thinks of everyone that he wants to protect, and Asuna's there, his sister's there, all the gang's there because they're important to him, and but that's practically it. When I'm really thinking about it, I just think like it felt so disconnected from the real world. It was kind of like, now that I'm really thinking about it, it's just kind of weird, not in a bad way, but it's just like the there was a distance in season two between in Gungale and what they were doing in Aincrad, no, not Aincrad, ALO, and then the difference between that and this season, where it's like you saw them every once in a while. They were talking about Kirito shit that was going on, but you never see them past like the second episode, or whatever the turtle episode is, whatever the turtle one is. That's what you that's when you see them, and that's it. And like I said, Kirito not even really mentioning them or thinking about them, which I'm not like saying like, oh, it's a complete like a selfish thing or whatever. I just mean like story wise, it was a bit weird, and I feel like the reason that they did that was to make you feel like this is his real world, this is his world now, to get you invested, and it worked. They introduced all these new characters that you like, and obviously. Kyojo, or and Alice. Well, Kyojo first, and then like way later on, Alice, like the and his like apprentice, and the his what the fuck is the word, master or whatever. um and stuff like that. They have some good like relationships there, but mostly like there's not really another main person. Like there's not a group, right? And it's basically just Kyojo and Alice, and that's like like I said, right at the like towards the end, when Kirito ends up convincing her like it's all bullshit and all that. Um, yeah, so that's that's basically what I'm thinking here, and I. Like I said, I think it was good. I thought going into this season we weren't gonna see the people at all. I thought it was just they were gonna jump in, and it was going to be like, okay, well, he's here. Like, we don't know why he's there in the first place. But the first, like, not the first thing. The first thing they do is show him in the world and how he doesn't remember the old world and how he grew up with these people, and stuff like that. Then we go to the real world. But I thought like we just weren't gonna know, and we do. So we do know what happened, and then shit, I had something else to say, but I forgot. Um, oh yeah, and I also thought like with Alice, I thought when it said like someone he should have never forgot, it was like in the real world, and it was like some Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. I remembered the game. I mentioned it last time, but I remembered the game name, Chain of Memories. Um, where it's like they introduced that girl, and it was like, oh, she never existed. They were just fucking with his mind, but when you put it, because they don't say like in the synopsis or anything like this is what it is. So it was like, okay, like we're just gonna introduce like retcon this whole fucking new woman in here, but they didn't do that. Um, which I think like once again, I would have never thought of this. I would have never thought of this idea. It was very smart. I want to praise the guy a little here, because that shit was like brilliant. I don't like I just thought like, oh, how are they gonna do this? They're gonna retcon stuff. They're gonna do this, but like I said, they make it a whole new world, and very very nice. But I'm gonna show off the set, and then if I think of anything else to talk about, I will talk about it, and then if not, I'm gonna end the video here, and hopefully this is back. This is the front. Oh, it was also cool when he turned into his SAO character, and he had the outfit on. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I thought that that was sick. I thought that the new sword he got was cool, and how it's like what's it called, the night sky sword like it was something where it was like, they do this a couple times, I think, where they have a cool name but then they add what it is at the end, where it's like something cool as fuck, and then it's like, oh, it's this, uh I can't think of it, a name, but an example or anything. But then they say sword, and it's like, okay, but that doesn't sound as cool. Like you say, like the night sky. I don't know, like who says like sword at the end of the sword's name or whatever. I don't know. It wasn't like that. Like in the first season, it was like the Elucidator and the, I can't remember, or Excalibur and stuff like that. But so there's this little book in here, and I guess it has character illustrations and some stuff like that. Pretty nice. It's all color. Um, but like I said, these are reversible, and every one, like the seasons previously have done this, where it's like different characters. But if you open it up, which I'm not gonna do it because it's gonna take me fucking forever to put it back. You can see here there's another spine in there, and then there's more artwork, and this is the gang from when they're at the academy. And this one. So, this is the Lady Knight I was talking about. You probably know that. And then the artwork in here, which I can't get a good look at because they have this, it gives you a soundtrack, which is pretty cool. I think the intros weren't as good as season 1 and 2, but they had their moments where they played the song, like during, actual fight scenes and stuff, and the visuals were pretty good. I just think the music didn't hit as hard, for the most part, like I said. But when they played it during fights, it felt better than just watching the intro. Yeah, so like I said, I think that this definitely is like a part 1, part 2 type of deal. I'm interested to see what they do. I think that obviously they're gonna do like the dark whatever, like fighting thing, where they have to save the world in the army, from the army of darkness or whatever the fuck it's called. But in the real world, like that's something where it was like, okay, what's gonna happen next after they defeat her. Like they say, they're going to have to, they're going to have to, fight this army off. And I was like, okay, well, him and the guards, the captains, whatever the fuck, for the church, now that they're freed, they'll be like, okay, well, now they'll be on, Kirito's side, because they all basically had a respect for him, or, whatever. And I think that, so it's like, okay, that's what it's going to do. And even though it's kind of clear, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. And I think that, once again, it still would have been really interesting to see that and to see what happens with that. But then when they introduced the real world stuff at the end, it was so unexpected. Like I said, this is mostly focused on this world, not the real one. No, well, not the original Earth, basically. And this art book's actually pretty cool. I fuck with that, but I didn't see that coming, so I don't know what they're gonna do with that. Like I said, I don't know if he can get out of there. I don't think this is really a spoiler, but I saw like on the cover for that, it's like them. I think it's them in the world that he's in, which would be pretty cool because it's like getting all of them together again, and especially in this type of world. Where they're, and then they all fight the demons or whatever, would be fucking awesome. Like, it's all of them fighting together with Kirito. First of all, just getting the gang back together, because I miss them. Like I said, I miss them. And, yeah, I think I've been rambling a lot, but I really, really love this season. And I just think, like, when people say, oh, it fell off, and I thought it did too. Like, I heard that, so I was like, okay, well, maybe it does. I don't think so. I think, of course, season 1, like, in general, is peak. I think it's, like, amazing. Season 2 is really good. I really enjoyed that, too. But it's, I don't think it's, like, up there. Like, to me, So, I don't want to say like, oh, to everyone it should be this, but like to me, it's one of the best. Like season one's one of the best animes out there. Like it's just a great story, beginning to end. And I don't know people who are saying like, oh, I don't like the ALO arc. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But nah, that's your opinion. But um, I that like they both hit as hard. I thought, like I said, because they introduced real world stakes. But I just watching this, it is very different, and you do get less of the characters you know and love, which I think is a downside, but also a plus for what they're doing in this season. So I kind of get why people wouldn't like it that way, but I don't think it went downhill. It's still very good storytelling, and I'm excited to see what happens next. And there's another 12 episodes, 13 episodes, something. Hopefully not one's not a fucking recap episode, and I'll make a video on that soon. I don't know when I'm gonna do that. Also, this was once again in one sitting. Fucking like it is insane. Like it is not it is not healthy, bro. But I was like, okay, I'm in. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. Peace.